Okay, so we're going to try the X-T3 in my car again in night mode, right? Like many other films that I've done in the car, but this time in the dark. I did one for the XH1 and I was pretty impressed, but I'm pretty sure I didn't use face detection like I'm using right now. I'm pretty sure I'm using face detection because even though the switch, and I'll switch it right now, there. I know it's in continuous. Um, Even though it's in single mode, if it's in face detection, it's going to be in continuous, right? Continuous AF. All right, anyway, let's move on. So, right now, regular street lights, it's an F log. It's the new base ISO now is 640 instead of 800, which is awesome because the base ISO on the camera side is 80, which is also awesome. That means less ND filters to carry, and you can probably do video that is more into the sunshine, I guess. Okay, this test is all about the X-T3's ability for F-Log and also for continuous autofocusing, face detection, focus. All X cameras that I've used, X-T1, X-T2, X-C3, X100, TF, X-C3, X-H1, they all do face detection. They detect your face, but unfortunately they don't focus very well. And I think with this new camera, with the new processor, I think it's going to do the best job, I think, than any of the other cameras combined. One of the frustrations that I've had with the X system is its continuous autofocus with face detection. Why? Well, if I want to do something like this, not in the dark though, I'm really surprised. I've seen some samples so far that I've done inside the car. They look pretty good actually, not bad. It doesn't work very well. I did something like this with the XH1 at night, and it turned out okay. Though I don't think it was face detect. It didn't have face detection. It was probably a group or single. Either way, right now I've had the camera, the X-T3, for about 5 hours now, and all the little tests that I've done so far, I'm happy with. I'm happy that it has audio out. I'm happy I don't have to have the boost or the grip so I can have boost. I'm happy that it has a tally light in the front. I know I'm being recorded. I'm happy that it has 60p, 4K 60p, even though I don't know if I'm going to be using that a lot, but a lot of people complain about how their cameras don't have that. For example, the Alpha 7 III, the Sony Alpha 7 III doesn't have that. Though this camera is less expensive than the Alpha 7 III, it's not full frame. But given that the lenses are less expensive, a little bit less expensive, the body is smaller, it has its own niche. No camera is perfect, though the XH1 should have been whatever the X-T3 has, the internals should have been on the X-H1, should have been, and most likely it could have been, but Fuji decided not to do that, probably tweak more the X-T3, but most likely, almost 99% sure, the internals of the X-T3 are going to go into the X-H1, and hopefully the X Pro 2 or 3, I mean. But the X-H2, the new, if there is one, that should have all the X-T3 stuff, and it should have not a PEZ battery, but a big battery, and also a flippy screen. It has that. It's going to be a killer machine. The X-T3 is going to be it's going to be one of their best sellers. It's their flagship now. And I'm happy with most of the things that this camera has. Of course, it doesn't have IBIS like the XH1. The XH1's, killer app is its ability to take, the IBIS, which you're able to take pictures at 1/15th of a second, or when you walk on the street with the camera, it doesn't shake as much, or when you're in the car like this. It is fantastic. But it's a much bigger body, and the focus on this camera, I think, is going to be pretty awesome. For the 5 hours that I've had it so far, I've seen some impressive results. But I've said that also on the XH1 when I first got it. And then I tested it in my usual spot with the trees, or the other trees, and it just disappoints. We'll find out if this disappoints or not. I'm going to be doing that test pretty soon. But let me tell you the settings on this camera. It is right now in F-Log. Of course, it's the Fuji X-T3. It has, it's at H.265. H.265 is the latest one. It's at long GOP. It has 16mm lens right now, f1.4, 1/48th of a second. It has ISO is at 640 because that's the new base for the F-Log. Let me see what else. Face detection. It's at, of course, AFC because it's face detection, regardless of the switch in the front. Movie mode is in group. There is what other thing? I said it's in full HD, 1080p, 2398, 200 megabits per second. Wow, that's a lot of information, isn't it? A lot of information to make this movie. So one of the things that I'm going to be really excited about is to find out how much noise this has. Would be nice to compare all these tests that I'm doing with the XH1, and I might, but sometimes that's a little bit harder to do, to have both cameras at the same time. But I'm liking this camera a lot. X-T2 was not special for me when I bought it. X-T1 was a dream. That's a very beautiful camera. Takes beautiful pictures at night, especially with the 16mm f1.4. But when the X-T2 came out, it was a disappointment. Just like how people were disappointed, not as much though as when the Canon 5D Mark IV came out. But the X-T2 was a disappointment. And they try to push as much as they could with the firmware, with 4K, and try to do a better focus, autofocus. Just like the XH1, the new firmware did not really fix the dynamic range at 400 issue. It really didn't as it was planned to. This camera, though, the X-T3, I think with its new processor, it's able to do a lot more calculations, be able to hold a lot of algorithms, because recently, what was it, the X-T3 or the it was one of the smaller ones, whatever it was, the X60 or something like that. They were talking about how there wasn't enough power in the processor, enough room for it to add more features to it. And that's the thing. I think this new platform with the quad-core processor is going to definitely be an improvement. But like I said before, I'm going all over the place because, again, this is just a test for the F-Log, right? Just to see if it looks good or not. There have been some lights flashing at me, and that's going to be interesting to see if it's been focusing or not. But the whole idea here is, how much noise is there with 640, and am I going to be able to you know, give it a little more color to it. Okay, I think that's it for now. I'm really enjoying the camera, and I'll be seeing you later. Bye.